Hi and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh to all the lecturers. My name is Nur Ainina Shafika binti Muhammad Abdul Alim. Today I would like to present my research proposal. The title for my research is Estimation of Risk on Respiratory Death from Exposure to Particulate Matter PM10, Carbon Monoxide CO and Ozone O3 among children in Klang Valley. For introduction, according to WHO 2016, in 2016, respiratory death became the top 10 causes of death. Children have greater risk from adverse health effects of air pollution than adults due to combination of physiology, environment, and attitude. There are a few examples of childhood respiratory disease such as pneumonia, asthma, bronchospasm, acute otitis media, and upper respiratory infection. According to EPA 2018, PM10 can affect both lung and heart that lead to irritation of the airways, coughing, or difficulty breathing. CO can deprive the blood cell of oxygen, makes the respiratory system struggle to distribute the air around and cause shortness of breath. Ozone can cause muscle in the airways to constrict, trapping air in the alveoli and leads to wheezing and shortness of breath. Next, the sources of air pollutants. First, particulate matter PM10 have two sources, primary sources and secondary sources. Primary sources are divided into two, which are anthropogenic activity and non-anthropogenic, while secondary sources contain chemical reaction in the atmosphere. Second, carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide comes from vehicle emission, cigarette smoking, and incomplete combustion of fossil fuel. Third, ozone. Ozone is created by chemical reaction between NOx and VOC in the presence of heat and sunlight. This is my conceptual framework. For my research, I will only highlight the red one, which air pollutant consists of PM10, carbon monoxide, and ozone. Then I will see the health effect, which is respiratory disease that lead to mortality among children. Next, literature review. According to CONCEPTUAL et al. 2001, a study in Brazil and Mexico shows that there is a significant association between air pollutants and child mortality. Sun et al. 2010 says that air pollution is composed of a heterogeneous mixture of compounds including CO, NOx, SOx, O3, and PM that can threat to human health. According to Dagan et al. 2019, air pollution in developing countries due to increased population, wrong ways of regulating vehicles, vast usage of fossil fuels, urban sprawl, and inappropriate expansion of industries without appropriate site selection. According to WHO 2018, ambient air pollution contributes to 7.6% of worldwide deaths, involving 4.2 million premature deaths, including nearly 300,000 children under 5. According to Zoran et al. 2014, respirable suspended particulate matter PM10 and PM2.5 are known to have detrimental effect on human health. And increasing the concentration of PM10 increased the number of respiratory hospital admission and the mortality rate. Wilbur et al. 2012 says that there are significant associations between increasing ambient air carbon monoxide concentration and respiratory outcome, such as exacerbation of asthma symptoms, hospitalization, and emergency room visit related to asthma. According to Novuland et al. 2018, majority of studies focusing on short-term exposure to ozone because there is no clear and consistent findings have been reported for the long-term effect on lung function. According to Gottman et al. 1969, time series study is a collection of data at specific interval over a period of time. It is to identify the trends, cycle, and seasonal variance to aid in the forecasting of a future event. The data observed must be measurable. The data must be measured over time at consistent intervals. Mystery 2019 says that our software is a language and software that allows statistical analysis. It includes means that make it possible to manipulate data, calculation, and graphical representation. It also has the possibility to run programs stored in text files. For research justification, air pollution in Malaysia becomes serious due to forest fire, emission from industry and vehicles that lead to serious health effects toward human body. Disease caused by air pollution contribute to death in which children are at higher risk than adults. The haze phenomenon is a serious air pollution incident occurred in Malaysia involving children until school closure are forced. The study to estimate the respiratory death among children should be carried out because there are limited number of publications locally. My research is to determine the risk to respiratory death from exposure to air pollutants among children. I have three research questions. First, is there any relationship between concentration of air pollutants and respiratory death in Klang Valley? Second, does the concentration of air pollutants influence the children's respiratory system that lead to death among children in Klang Valley? Third, what are the risks of respiratory death among children when exposed to air pollutants in Klang Valley? My research main objective is to estimate the risk of respiratory death from exposure to particulate matter PM10, carbon monoxide CO, and ozone O3 among children in the Klang Valley. There are 5 specific objectives. First, to determine the concentration of air pollutants, particulate matter PM10, carbon monoxide CO, and ozone O3 in Klang Valley from 2014 to 2018. Second, to calculate the rate of respiratory death among children in Klang Valley. Third, determine the concentration between PM10, CO, and O3 and respiratory death among children in Klang Valley. Fourth, to assess the contribution of PM10, CO, and O3 to respiratory death among children in the Klang Valley. And lastly, estimate the risk of respiratory death from exposure to PM10, CO, and O3 among children in the Klang Valley. There are two hypotheses. First, there is a significant relationship between air pollution concentration and respiratory death among children in the Klang Valley. Second, the concentration of air pollutants contributes to respiratory death in children. Next, methodology. For study design, I will use time series study because the data are collected at specific interval over a time period. For study population, I will target children who died due to respiratory disease. J00 until J99 are the code for respiratory disease that are coded from ICD-10. These are subcategories for respiratory disease. The age of children are divided into 5 ranges, starting from 0 day until 19 years old. Next, for study period, I will choose the data starting from 1st January 2014 until 31st December 2018. For study location, I will choose Klang Valley region. According to Air Quality Monitoring Station, Klang Valley Station consists of 6 areas, which are Petaling Jaya, Shah Alam, Klang, Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur, Gombak and Kajang. For secondary data, air quality data I will collect from Departments of Environment, and respiratory death among children data I will collect from Departments of Statistics Malaysia. This is the air quality standard that I will only refer to PM10, CO and ozone. Continuous air quality monitoring divided into 5 categories that contain 7 parameters. This is the continuous air quality monitoring station in Peninsular Malaysia, and in the box shows Klang Valley areas. This is my research flowchart. First, I will collect daily air quality data from DOE and respiratory death data from DOSM. The statistical analysis I will analyze using SPSS version 16, and time series analysis I will analyze using R software. Next, statistical analysis. For Objective 1 and Objective 2, I will use descriptive analysis to get average for concentration of air pollutants and respiratory death among children. Objective 3, I will use correlation coefficient to get association between air pollutants and respiratory death. Objective 4, I will use multiple linear regression to see how air pollutants can contribute to respiratory death. And lastly, Objective 5, I will use time series analysis to get estimation of risk of respiratory death from exposure to air pollutants. For time series analysis, based on 1 Mahyudin et al. 2013, I will use this formula. The equation shows the Poisson regression in generalized additive models. EY refer to expected daily mortality counts. Z1 refer to variable days of the week. Z2 refer to variable holiday indicator. Gamma refer to covariate such as time, temperature, rainfall, and humidity. Beta refer to regression coefficient. S refer to smoothing function using natural spline. And lastly, the F refer to degree of freedom. Here is my Gantt chart. Starting from February 2020, I will do some literature review and proposal presentation preparation. In March 2020, I will conduct proposal presentation. And lastly, this is my references. That's all from me. Thank you.